Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. With tremendous pleasure, I want to introduce to you Alex Christoforou from the Duran. Yesterday, they invited me at their show, Duran, Alex Christoforou, and Alexander Mercouris. Fantastic experience. Thank you, Alex, for being here with us. And tell us a little about you, about how you started this, whatever we do best here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be on your show and on your channel. We at the Duran, both me and Alexander, we follow your work very closely. And as we said yesterday in our live stream, we're amazed at the output of content that you produce on a daily basis. It helps our workout, helps us our work a lot. And we had a great show with you on the Duran. It was a lot of fun. And the Duran, well, me and Alexander, we started the Duran a couple of years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. I'm not even sure. I'm very bad with dates, but we've been at it for a few years. I want to say maybe 4 years, covering the news, and the last 2 years, most of the focus has been on Ukraine and Russia. But you know, we started covering, Emil, we started covering geopolitics probably when many channels weren't covering geopolitics, and we were talking about Russia when there wasn't much going on, like the Russian economy, and talking about the EU when a lot of people weren't paying much attention. We talked a lot about the 2016, 17, maybe more than 4 years. So a lot about the 2020, 2019 elections and Russiagate and all of that stuff. Those used to be the hot topics that everyone was talking about. And then we got these wars and everything changed.
Well, I have to confess, I would like to confess that I've been watching your channel, Duran, Alexander and Alex. I was watching you in 2020, 2021, again, with Trump, with the elections, with Ukraine. I was watching you regularly. And again, I have to confess, and I want to confess that you guys were part of my inspiration and my trust that I can, I can really, look, these guys are doing it, and they do it intellectually. They don't do all kind of, electronics and all kind. They do it intellectually. So there is a need for intellectual communication. So you guys actually gave me extra, look at these guys. These guys are great right there. So thank you very much for that. I will put in the description below, in the description box below, the Duran link, so you can access over there and see their work. So lately I couldn't watch too much because too much things happen and I'm doing too many things. But anyway, we're going to discuss today some a general overview of this globe. So we're going to try to go over how things started in Ukraine, how we think things started in Ukraine, where will they end, and then from there we're going to go a little bit more pinpointed towards Kharkiv, Kharkov, what other hotspots are over there. We're going to jump to Zelensky, we're going to jump to Fico, we're going to jump to Erdogan, we're going to jump to Argentina, China, India. We're going to solve all the problems, as I said prior to Alex. So let's start with the first one. Alex, what do you think, or give us your understanding of how this thing in Ukraine started, how it was played, escalated or de-escalated, and where do you think is going to, what direction is going, and what are the outcomes, most probable outcomes?
Most probable outcomes. That one's an interesting one. That's probably one of our most popular questions that we always get is how is this gonna end? What's the map? What's the map gonna look like? Everyone's always interested in the map. Only Putin and his team know, I guess, or they have the plans as to how they see Ukraine the conflict in Ukraine ending. But how it started, I think, is simple. To be quite honest, regime change. I think it was all about regime change. I remember the first shows that we did on Ukraine when the conflict started, and we saw the 16,000 sanctions that were thrown at Russia after the first 3 months of the conflict. It was obvious that this was about regime change. And I think the Europeans and the United States, they thought that if they cut off the flights of Russians to Europe and they couldn't travel, if they made it difficult for the oligarchs to do business or to go to Paris and shop at Prada or Gucci, if they started to impose all these sanctions, cutting off SWIFT and Visa and MasterCard and internet websites and Instagram and whatever else they cut off, I believe they thought that people would get out onto the streets along with the oligarchs working behind the scenes, and they would remove Putin. I think that's what this was all about. That's simple.
Putin and then next just resources, nuclear weapons, society, culture, and where is this gonna go to? What could be the outcomes probable?
Well, I think the outcome is that Russia's going to win. Russia doesn't have a choice not to win. I think that's obvious. The Putin administration has been saying since the beginning of the special military operation that this is existential, and they understand that. And the collective West, and specifically the EU, have done reports on this. I'm sure you've reported on this as well. They've had conferences and events talking about the breakup of Russia, the balkanization of Russia. They've divided up the map of Russia. They've even got the countries' names. They've picked out leaders. I mean, they've game planned this out, or at least they thought in their minds that they had game planned this out. For Russia, I think that once they got through the sanctions, that's when I believe they realized that they were out of the danger zone. They tried to get a peace. I truly believe. I think it's clear now that Putin did want a peace agreement. He didn't want this to go to the war that we see today. I think he preferred a peace. Doesn't mean he didn't have 2, 3, 4, 5 different plans set up. I'm sure they had multiple plans for how everything was going to go with Ukraine. But there's no doubt about it that the first phase of the special military operation was about getting Zelensky to the negotiating table. And it worked. It worked until, Boris came to town.
Boris was sent? Do you think Boris was sent, or Boris came as a player being
sent? I mean,
sent.
Don't you think he was sent? Yeah, I mean, I don't think Boris is making his own decisions.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was the messenger or he was the one actor over there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Boris must have, from what I understand, Boris did have a good relationship with Zelensky. So I'm sure that someone told him, look, you get along with this guy, right? You have an understanding or some connection with Zelensky. Go over there and tell him to scrap this peace deal. I mean, we know that's what happened. I don't think this is controversial or disputed. But once the peace deal was broken, then we entered the war, and here we are today.
Yep. I don't totally agree with that summary, and it's just it's for interests, and unfortunately, the way I see it is for financial interests. And I don't know. You're right. Russia can't really lose, but we'll find out. We'll find out how much or how far these guys are going to escalate it. It's going to be a no-flight zone. It's going to be the F-16s taking off from Romania and Poland. Are going to be NATO troops over there? Will the Russians respond to tactical nuclear weapons? Or what do you think about that scenario? Possible, probable?
Such a hard one. It's such a hard one to call. I think, like, like, let's take Poland, for example. About a year and a half ago, I would have said that Poland was better than 50% of going into West Ukraine. I think that as this war has dragged on, and now that people in Poland see that Ukraine is losing, people in Poland understand that they were lied to. Not all people, but most people, even people that do not like Russia. I think they understand that they were misled as to how this war was unfolding. I think now it would be difficult to get the buy-in from the society in Poland to go in. Saying that, the governments that we have in Europe don't really care much what the people think or what the people want, right? So,
Yeah.
The question is, I think about this a lot. Can the collective West actually take on Russia? I mean, take France in Niger. They got kicked out. Yeah, they left. They got kicked out. Look at what happened to the U.S. in Afghanistan before the conflict in Ukraine got started. You have to wonder, can they take on Russia? We know they have weapons problems. We know they have ammunition and artillery problems. That's not a secret. We know they have Patriot missile problems, air defense problems. I mean, my take on this is, if NATO knew they could defeat Russia, they would have gone in on day one. If they were confident that they could defeat Russia. They had confidence in the beginning. I think they said, let's let Ukraine kind of beat up Russia a bit. I think that's what they said. Let Ukraine rough them up a little, and then we'll come in and we'll deliver the knockout blow. That's how I think they saw it. We'll throw the sanctions at them, we'll weaken them, and then we'll come in and we'll knock them out. And in 3-4 months, this will all be over, and we'll have all of the riches and resources in what will be a balkanized Russia. And Zelensky will be sitting in the Kremlin as emperor of this new entity. But that's not how things worked out.
Well, first I thought it was a miscalculation with sanctions. But then I remembered George W. Bush when he invaded those countries in the Middle East. And I thought it was a miscalculation. Oh, we made a mistake, and it was wrong, or we brought freedom and democracy. But then I realized that the economic, financial system behind all this profited a lot out of this. So from our perspective, the commoners, yes, it was a mistake. It was on false intelligence and lies. But then from their perspective, it was a success. So when I look at these guys with the sanctions, we know that the sanctions affect the population, Germany, France, and so on. But who profits? The businesses that actually are the banks, the military industrial complex of various countries, and of course the energy sector. So from that is like we want to be able to hit you, but you can't hit us back, because we just provide you weapons, but you cannot hit us. We're not involved. So the same, I think, with this umbrella no-flight zone over Ukraine. I think they will try to push it to see, test the water and see if it's going to be allowed to get that far or not. With F-16s, they always pushed little by little with euphemisms. So we'll find out, I guess, what this guy, I don't think I had some conversations with two Polish men born in Poland, and I asked them about, because I have my theory that Poland would like to come and be the protector of Western Ukraine at one point, somehow protect their minority over there, and that's been done in the past by other countries. So I thought that they will be pushed into, and we're not here to fight anybody, just to protect the lives of our Polish citizens. They were inclined not to see that. I still work hard on. We're going to see that. We're going to see that. What do you think, based on historical? I think not demands, requests, and the fact that that would help. Use as an argument. We're just going to save lives, so the Russians will not invade you. Do you think they will be activated? Is there a possibility? Because I really think is an 80% or no or more that will happen if the Russians advance. What do you think about that one?
Well, I think it's a certainty that this has been discussed and it continues to be discussed. I think there's no doubt about that. Poland, NATO, the United States and Poland. I'm sure that I'm sure that they have discussed this and they continue to discuss this option. If they're going to do it, Putin, he said many times that the west of Ukraine, the Lvov region, he said it's not historically connected to Russia. He's been very open about it. He hasn't hidden that fact that for Russia this is territory that they have no real interest in, no historical or cultural ties to. Once again, maybe in the beginning of the special military operation, there might have been a formula to resolve Ukraine with various stakeholders in the region, Russia being one of them, Romania being another one, Hungary being another one, and Poland being another one. But of course, would the United States allow such a thing to take place? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. That's not going to happen. Poland going in, I think it's possible. I just wonder what the Polish society would think about that. I could see an argument for some people in Poland, like someone like Duda. I think it's clear that he would like to grab Lviv. I think it's obvious. He's got his eye on Lvov. But there's a lot of people in Poland that come up with the argument and they say, we don't want to integrate them into Poland. We're fine as we are. Why would we want to swallow up this territory? It would change the political map. It would change politics. Maybe one party would benefit tremendously from this new demographic than other parties. So I don't know what the internal conversations are in Poland, maybe between the different parties, between different political leaders, what society is saying. It's a huge move to incorporate a new part of an existing country to then incorporate it into your country. And then you have the other dynamic, which is, what does Germany say? Given that you have some World War II issues with land being allocated from one country to another, I think you open up a Pandora's box, which could be interesting to see how everything would unfold. But I don't know if these guys have thought that far ahead. I don't know if the collectivist leadership have thought these things through.
I think what United States or the interests behind United States of America dictate, these guys will do it. Because if they will tell the Poles do that, the Germans will be kept by the guys who have occupation troops over there. Let's put them not defending troops or whatever they want to call them. So, as you know, it was this morning there was some news on Kharkiv Oblast, and that reportedly the Ukrainians pulled back from some positions in Kharkiv Oblast, and the Russians took over 2 areas. What do you think about what's your take on the newest Russian offensive in Kharkov? If what's going on with Sumy, which is the other oblast, where the Budanov, the Ukrainian military intelligence chief, said that's next in 2 days. I'm waiting. And then what else do you think is relevant as a Russian offensive everywhere else, in Bakhmut or Avdiivka? And then we're going to discuss the Crimean attack that happened overnight.
The ATACMS, I just want to go back to Poland. I could see a
Okay.
government in exile in the West. I could definitely see something like that being put together in Lviv, and Lviv being the capital of the government in exile. That I could see, and it could have maybe some sort of federated connection to Poland. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there. Who
Okay.
knows? But I could definitely see a government in exile somehow being moved to the West. I think a big question is, would Russia agree to that? I think that's a huge question. Who knows? But Kharkiv, look, Kharkiv is a Russian city, right? It's
Well,
directly a Russian
depends who
city.
you ask.
Well, I mean,
I know what to say, yeah.
well, yeah.
I mean, the Russians said Kiev is theirs too. Remember, what's his name? The Medvedev. He said,
Yeah,
well,
Medvedev.
Kiev is ours, so we're coming for it. Oops.
Yeah. The interesting part is I was in Kiev 2013, and I remember everything being in Russian, the Russian language at least, everything. I don't remember. I'm not criticizing Ukrainian language or anything like that. I just don't remember any Ukrainian being spoken or being used in any of the say the menus at restaurants, or just walking around in the street, or the signs. So I don't know. That was my last impression of Kiev, for whatever it's worth. Maybe it's worth nothing, but I think Kharkov is definitely much more connected to Russia. I mean, how far away is it? It's 80 kilometers, 90 kilometers from Russia proper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been considered, and Odessa too. I think the argument is not much of an argument at all, that these two cities have a cultural, historic connection to Russia, or Tsarist Russia. Let's say they have that connection. Kharkov, the offensive, if you want to call it that, it's hard to say where it's hard to know where. I was thinking, I always knew that there was going to be some sort of buffer zone created. There had to be, because the attacks on Belgorod were just getting out of hand, and Putin had to do something. The Russian government had to do something. You can't have every week. You can't have 3-4 people, civilians, being injured or dying, and that playing out on Russian television every single week. And that was where the situation was. And so something had to happen. And the Russians, being very patient, I think they waited to build up their forces. They waited for the right time, and they made their move. Now, is this more than a buffer zone? Probably it's going to be more than just creating a buffer zone so they could be outside of the range of artillery. But this is Budanov's fault. This is Zelensky's fault. They didn't have to open up this front. Alexander has said this. I've said this. They didn't have to go after Belgorod. It really didn't serve any military strategic purpose, because the bulk of the fighting was, as you said, in Avdiivka, in Bakhmut, in the south. That was where the real fighting was taking place. They could have just left Belgorod alone. I mean, the Russians pulled out of Kharkiv. Nothing was really going on there. Nothing was happening there. But Budanov wanted to be clever. He wanted to be cute. He wanted to create these little insurgencies and move into villages and plant flags and take Instagram photos. And Zelensky wanted this as well. That's what they were doing. And when they would go into Kharkov and they take these little Instagram photos, they'd send them to Brussels, and Ursula would praise the fighting of the Ukraine military and the progress of the Ukraine military, and then they would ask for more money. You see, look, we just planted a flag in a village inside of Russia. We planted a flag there, Ukraine flag. Give us 20 billion. Yeah. And that's how they were playing it. But they kept on doing it. And I think the Putin administration said enough. And so now they opened up a front in Kharkiv. They're going to have another front, and so that's five fronts that they're opening up. And people forget Sumy, the region of Sumy, the Russians, in the beginning of the SMO, and they got criticized for this, the Russian military, they walked right through Sumy. There was zero resistance. I don't know if you remember. There was zero resistance, and then they made their way down to Kiev because they wanted to force Zelensky to the negotiating table. But a lot of analysts said that was a mistake. You should have stayed in Sumy and consolidated your gains. But they weren't interested in keeping that territory. So I don't know. Maybe this time they will keep that territory. I don't know.
Regarding the buffer zone, if the Ukrainians receive and they have ATACMS, 300 kilometers, how deep inside they have to get to Kiev as a buffer zone, the Russians, to push the Ukrainians in order not to be able to hit Russia proper, let's put it this way. The Ukrainians
the ATACMS are interesting, though. I think the Russians are not so bothered with the ATACMS. I think they have had some success, but I would actually argue the Storm Shadow missiles probably gave the Russian air defense a little bit more difficulty than the ATACMS. That's how it seems.
Still, those are 180 kilometers, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Storm Shadow. So if you push...
Yeah, from what I understand, the Storm Shadow... I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I understand, the Storm Shadows are a little bit more tricky, in the way they move for the Russian air defense. I don't know. That's what I've read, that the Storm Shadows, they're a little bit more evasive. And the ATACMS seem to be more straightforward, at least for Russian air defense. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Storm Shadows a little bit more playful.
Yeah, that's what I've read. Yeah, they're a little bit more, so they give the Russians, at least in the beginning, they gave the Russians a difficult time. In the beginning, they were hitting the Kerch Bridge.
Well,
with those
bringing it up, Kerch Bridge. Now we have this morning the Russians reported they down 10 ATACMS missiles launched at Crimea and attacking that Sevastopol military airfield, supposedly attacking the MiG-31s, the ones that carry Kinzhals. I don't know, I covered this earlier today, so what do you know about that one? Will they be allowed, the Ukrainian, to use if they use them, ATACMS, to hit proper Russia, inside of Russia, since you have some Ukrainian envoy right now at the White House or in Washington, D.C. trying to... What do you know about that one? Any update on...
I don't have an update on that. I'm not so sure as to what exactly happened in Crimea either. I mean, the Russian Ministry of Defense, they're tight-lipped about everything. My hunch is that the Russian air defense is not so worried at the moment. This could all change tomorrow. I don't know. But it seems right now that the ATACMS haven't caused them much trouble. That's the way it looks. Once again, I could be completely wrong about that. The fact that they're so obsessed with Crimea and the Kerch Bridge, I think, is very much like Belgorod. They've got these obsessions. Got like these tics. Collective West has these. Yeah, they've got these obsessions which they just can't let go of, because everyone knows that Crimea, the Kerch Bridge, at this point in time serves zero military purpose. We know that the Russians now have the rail, and that's where they're moving everything across to the front line. And so why, if you're already low on missiles, if you're already low on weapons, if you're low on resources, why bother with trying to hit the Kerch Bridge? And why would you want to provoke Russia even further, like in Belgorod? Why do you want to open up these new headaches when you already have Avdiivka, Chasov Yar, the Bakhmut direction, the Kherson Rabatino today was, from what I understand, was... Yeah, I mean, why are you opening up all of these headaches? Doesn't make any military strategic sense, but they've got these obsessions. They've got it in their head that we have to take out the Kerch Bridge. We just have to do it.
I don't know, could be some morale booster for some and some job opening for others. Because as you said,
agree, probably
the consequences are bigger than whatever you do over there. A little scratch and you get punched in the nose. Well, I think.
I mean, from a strategic viewpoint, though, I mean, if you were advising Ukraine, if you were sitting on the contact group that meets in Germany, and you were advising Ukraine, you would be like, guys, don't bother with Belgorod. Don't bother with the Kerch Bridge. We're wasting our time. There's no need to deal with this stuff anymore. Focus on the battlefield. Focus on, I don't know, maybe building fortifications, maybe building up your defenses, maybe getting a real mobilization plan in place. I mean, they have so many other things that they could be doing with the limited resources that they have. Instead, they're sitting there and they're fantasizing about destroying the Kerch Bridge because it will do what? It will lead to Putin's downfall? No.
On the contrary.
You know that. Yeah, on the
contrary.
Exactly.
They're going to have the Russian population angry. Now, what's going on with Zelensky? He canceled his foreign trips. He was supposed to go to Spain to sign that treaty, and then to Lisbon, to Portugal. And he said, no, Blinken is playing guitar in the bars. You saw that in Kiev? Okay. And the other one's playing the saxophone. Remember the other cool president? Yeah, okay.
Cool guys, huh?
Yeah, what do you think? What's going on? They say, well, it's what's going on in Kharkov. You think that's why Zelensky canceled it?
I don't know, but one thing about Zelensky is very clear. Whenever he was running into any difficulties in Kiev, he would always take a trip.
Yeah, he did. Yes.
Yeah. So now he canceled his trip. And I'm not quite sure what that tells me.
He canceled it, or someone else canceled it for him?
Someone else canceled it for him, exactly. Someone sat him down and said, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to run off to Spain to get away from this one.
Yeah,
right. So, why? Why would they prevent Zelensky from leaving when Blinken? To be fair, Blinken in his statement yesterday, he did seem like he came out in support of Zelensky when he said that elections. It's not the right time to have elections and blah blah blah. Yes, so it did look like Blinken was saying we support Zelensky, or he's our guy for the moment. That's how it looked. But who knows what they're saying behind the scenes? No doubt, Blinken. I agree with you. I think Blinken said you're not going anywhere. Now, why would he tell him that? I think is a more interesting question. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are. Why would Blinken want him to stay? Maybe because of the optics are bad. Doesn't look good. I don't know.
I have no answer. I can't say. I don't know. And I don't even can bring something with 20%. I mean, if you think that you got some information, you put things together and say, okay, I think this about 60%, over 50 preponderance of evidence, right? More and more, I would, but I don't even have that. I have no idea why he's not leaving. What you said is very possible, probable, but I don't know. But you're right about leaving. Remember when there were those two drones that hit the Kremlin, one of them, and one was hit. Yeah. Where was he? He fled into Finland, the Nordic states cooperation. He showed up over there.
Yeah, always. Man, he lives for a couple of days. He meets some European leaders. He takes some photos. His wife goes
to Paris, far away, so he cannot be. Oh man!
Someone told him to stay put. I wonder if because there are a lot of rumors about the fact that on the 21st his term runs out, and everyone in Kiev they're all fighting amongst each other. Everyone knows that Budanov hates Zelensky hates Budanov hates Poroshenko and Syrskyi and Zaluzhny and Klitschko, and those three, they hate Budanov. So there is a lot of palace intrigue. I wonder if, I don't know, maybe some three-letter agencies along with Blinken, because Blinken's traveling with his entourage of people. I wonder if they told Zelensky, if you leave now, you're not going to be able to come back, and we've built you up to be this Churchill figure, so
stay here.
Stay here. Yeah, maybe that's a wild guess. I don't know.
Now let's jump to Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, who was someone shot at him got him once out of 4 bullets next to Bratislava, I think it happened. And he, as we all know, was against sending more aid to Ukraine, governmental aid to Ukraine, and peace talks between Russia and Kiev, which should be between Russia and Washington, D.C. So, che bono, follow the money. Who could be the main actors here, like the Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines?
They say they apprehended someone. From what I understand, this guy was not in agreement with Fico's politics. Some 71-year-old, a guy that was affiliated with the opposition. I want to say the liberal opposition party.
71-year-old?
Yeah, 71-year-old. This is who they apprehended.
So
this is what we're getting. Indirectly, directly, who did this? We'll find out exactly who did this, and whatever information they give us, we're going to have to take it at face value. When they give us the name and they tell us all the information, there's really not much else we can say about that. Indirectly, I think a lot of this falls on the feet of the European Union, the Biden White House, the media, the narratives about authority. He's an authoritarian. He's the next Stalin. He's the next mustache man. No. He's far right. This radicalizes people. They're always saying that it's the far right, whatever that even means, that's radicalized, or it's Trump that's radicalizing people, or it's Putin that's radicalizing people. No, yeah. It's their constant bringing up of the mustache man and Stalin, and he's the next Pol Pot, and he's an authoritarian, and there are people that get influenced by this and affected by this. And my opinion on this is that it can be. I'm not saying this is the case with Fico, but it can lead to some dangerous outcomes, because some people actually believe, oh my God, he's Stalin. So if I was living back at the time of Stalin and I had the opportunity to save 100 million people, would I do it? You get back to those questions, yeah, those hypotheticals that people ask. And so I think you get into these types of situations. Now, once again, I don't know if that's the case with Fico, but I wish I could tell the collective West of the media to just stop with these, trying to draw parallels between these historical figures, these dictators and these strongmen and these horrible people like the mustache man. Stop drawing parallels between them and that time and people like Fico or Orban or Putin or Xi Jinping or whoever. I mean, Trump. They need to stop this stuff.
Well, I like the guy, but still, when it happens, I would say where you don't expect. You would have expect, in freer societies, more access to guns and all that. Slovakia is a very calm country, society, and the crime is not up, as in Czech Republic as well. So I would have expected some crazies to act, let's say, in Great Britain or United States of America or somewhere else, in the West per se, Western countries. But Slovakia was a little bit, to me, like, what's going on here? Just a crazy 71-year-old guy just woke up and like, this guy's is I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, my prayers are. I like Fico a lot. I think the guy's a really good. It looks like he's a really good leader. He's new at this. I mean, he just got elected. When was he elected? Like 6 months ago.
Yeah, but he was something.
He's been in he's been in politics for a while. But I'm saying his election is recent.
Yes, last year I think it was in December or January, something like this, October, November.
Yeah, so he hasn't been in office that long. He's been a headache for the European Union. He's been a headache for the globalist political class. But it's to me, I think there's just a general overall the general overall rhetoric about this authoritarian, this group of authoritarian leaders, I think, is leading everyone to a very bad place.
Well. Let's jump to Mr. Erdogan, the president of Turkey. It was they say that foiled, whatever, they stopped, prevented a coup d'etat over there or something with the police in Ankara. And Mr. Erdogan points the finger again across the Atlantic towards whom, and like in 2016. I don't think the Russian troops are still around Erdogan, as some people claimed in 2016, if you remember. What do you think about this development?
Yeah, the Russians saved Erdogan in 2016. I was in Moscow when that went down. Yeah. No, the Russians. Yeah, the Russians saved Erdogan. They tipped him off as to what was happening. The interesting part about that is that, from what I understand, the people that instigated the coup, they had a clean shot at Erdogan.
Then or now?
Plane. Yeah, then in 2016, and his plane, as it was trying to escape, they had a clean shot. They didn't take it, and he got away, and then he put up that FaceTime mobile phone video, and that was it. That's how a coup is. The coup d'etat. If you don't arrest the leader or get rid of the leader, then usually the coup, falls apart. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Get the military.
Yeah. And then Erdogan cleaned house. I mean, he arrested like 2,000 or 3,000 people in the military. Yeah, this goes back to the Gulen, which has been Erdogan's nemesis. That was his one-time buddy, and then they had a falling out in 2013. And Gulen, he has like some sort of religious schools that he uses against Erdogan, and he's in exile in the United States. And Erdogan's been trying to get at him for a while, and the U.S. I think the U.S. uses Gulen as leverage over Erdogan. I think that's the game that's played.
The clerics organization is labeled as a terrorist organization in Turkey. So Erdogan requested the clerics extradition after the 2000. I don't know if it was only after the 2016 failed coup, and the Americans said no. Why would I?
Pennsylvania, man.
Yes. BRICS. What do you think? BRICS countries: India, China, the economy, the non-imposing sanctions on Russia. I'm talking about India primarily right now. The Indians opened or agreed to work with Iran on a port next to Pakistan. Today I read an article about it, and Dr. Jaishankar came out and said, the Americans said that you guys, you're just exposing yourself to possibly sanctions. And Dr. Jaishankar, the foreign minister, came and said, we're going to do what we need to do for the Indian nation's interest. What do you think will be the next move, the Americans? Because the Indians stepped too many times on the US's toes and not following orders with sanction Russia. What do you think will escalate? You remember Canada as well with India. What do you think is going to escalate? Or if it's going to escalate?
Canada did the same thing with China, with Huawei.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it only has one direction that it's going to move towards. Once you're on the sanctions escalator, that's it. You're going up. That's it.
No,
so, yeah, they're going to sanction. They're going to sanction. They'll start with something small. They'll sanction a couple of individuals in India. I don't know who. Some business people connected to the port or whatever. And that's it. Once you're on that escalator, India, it only goes up. It never comes down. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen. They're going to piss off India. They've pissed off China. Russia, we already know.
It's like they're
not
losing. It's like it was who was that? Maybe Ariel Sharon at one, or maybe Netanyahu said, I can't remember, one of these guys, and he said that talking about the Palestinian Authority, he said about Arafat. The Palestinians did not miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. So it seems like the West, the Americans, these guys, when they poke left and right, it's like they don't miss an opportunity to, let's put it mildly, screw themselves. They poke too many guys in the same time, and those guys are not, Romania, Albania, or something like that. These are Russia, India, China, Brazil, and then these guys are working on the dollar as a currency, and as if the dollar loses its value or the importance as a global or an exchange currency, whatever it is, these guys are just going to. We have to start working much, much harder in the United States of America. So, what do you think about the connection between the BRICS countries, the second club that I think it's already built on the other side, versus the plantation, Al Capone's plantation, US's plantation, and the fight on the dollar, getting rid of the dollar, and the Arabs who are doing business with Chinese. Now they want to do it on their own currencies. So, what's your take on all this? BRICS, de-dollarization, Middle East oil.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think BRICS understands that they got to move away from the dollar. I think they understand. I think it's clear to the 80% of the world now that the dollar has been weaponized. It's been weaponized for many years, but they've just taken it to extremes. And so everyone now is moving away from the dollar, trying to find ways to move away from the dollar. I mean, I remember Gaddafi when he wanted to move away from the dollar. We know what they did to him. But now, a lot of countries are trading outside of the dollar, and the U.S. can't do anything. They can't do anything. So I think it's already been decided. The U.S. can't take on everybody. They're trying to, though. They can't take on everybody. I guess they have a strategy. I imagine their strategy is this. We can't take on all the small countries that are trading, say, with China or with Russia outside the dollar. I don't know. We can't take on, or it's not worth our time to deal with Niger if they're trading with China in their own currencies, or Ethiopia if they're trading with Russia in their own currencies. Let's just go after the head of the
cut the head of
the yeah. I think that's probably their thinking is, if we can
Medusa.
Yeah, exactly. if we could deliver a big enough blow to China or to Russia, then it'll freak out all the smaller countries and they'll get back in line. I think that's their thinking. If we can do enough damage to BRICS as they're trying to move away from the dollar, then all of the other little countries that are talking about de-dollarization and moving away from the dollar and from the hegemon and moving away from the colonizer country or whatever, they'll get right back in line. They'll fall right back in line because they'll see that we roughed up Russia, we roughed up China or India, and the problem solved. So I think that's how they're approaching it. I'd take a guess, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
No, it's not. They're too far. They're too friendly. These guys are too connected. Even though China and India are not but interest brings you together, and you can forget about little boundaries here or borders and so on. It's a bigger fish over there that wants to fry you, so you better,
and they have, and I think the most important thing with BRICS, Jaishankar, Lavrov, Wang Yi, Xi Jinping, Modi, Putin, good people. They have A players. The BRICS is stacked with excellent diplomats and economists and statesmen and leaders. You look at the other side, it's a desert.
Gotta swap teams or something. Give me your guys. We're gonna send you our packings right now.
Yeah.
FedEx.
There's no way they can compete with these guys. There's no way. I mean, I said Blinken is in Kiev. This is the top diplomat of the United States, the number one diplomat. And he goes to a bar and he's playing
get some votes for something in the future or something.
And this was all planned. It was all planned. This wasn't spontaneous.
Yeah.
It was all choreographed because someone thought this was a good idea. I wonder what were these people thinking? Yeah, they were sitting at a table saying, as this war is raging and Kharkiv is crumbling and hundreds of thousands of people are dying and everything's horrific, it would be great, Anthony, if we picked out a bar somewhere in Kiev and we'll bring your left-handed guitar.
Now he's Jimmy, huh?
One. Yeah, they just happened to have a left-handed guitar. Someone put that in the comment sections in the video I put up, and I was like, that's an excellent.
So he didn't play like Jimmy with the upside down? They have a left-handed?
And we want you to sing Rocking in the Free World. This is nonsense, man.
Well,
this is not, and they're going to go up against Lavrov, which I shot them. Really?
Really? The guitar.
Yeah,
well,
really?
That looks good for some in the West. But for the Ukrainians, we'll ask the same question you asked. What's going on here? For some people here, as yesterday when I was your guest, guys, I spoke about the Zulu Empire versus the Roman Empire. Right. They're both empires, but they're very different in many ways of achievements and organization and so on. So these guys here, they think they meet the same. I don't know who advises these guys, because they're advised. Blinken is advised, you're going to go and play the guitar. I want to see who that person was who advised that this is good choreography. You go and play the guitar and the Ukrainians will melt. Maybe some people here will melt, I think. But those over there, I think those guys will look like, what the...
what is going on here? What is going on here? And I read a lot of comments from a lot of Americans on social media, and they were saying, is this the brutal war that Putin is waging in Kiev? It doesn't support the narrative of brutal Putin wanting to destroy Ukraine. It doesn't support that narrative when you have Blinken eating pizza and playing guitar.
Bad optics right there. Not only well, Argentina. I call him Pimp Milei, the president-elect of Argentina. I call him Pimp Milei because I think Argentina is his employee and the customers are north. What do you think about Milei? What do you think about his policies? Who says that he's going to have a shock therapy on the Argentinians? Messi is going to feel it in Florida. And what do you think will happen over there? What do you think? Because personally, I think there's going to be an uprising over there, but that's me.
I think you're right. I think you called Milei. Look, Milei was fun to watch as he was campaigning, right? I mean, entertaining and all, and chainsaws and shock therapy, great. But he's not going to get the job. This needs serious people. I mean, Argentina is in serious trouble, and it needs serious people to fix I don't even know if the problems can be fixed. I mean, things have always been bad with the currency and with the economy. How long has this been going on for now? I mean, and they had an opening in BRICS.
They canceled it.
They canceled it.
Yeah, Milei.
Why? He wasn't getting. Okay, maybe he was getting pressure. Yeah, sure, he was getting pressure, but BRICS could have been thinking outside of the box type of strategy that might have solved some issues in Argentina. I'm not saying it would have solved everything. I don't even know if it would have solved some things, but I think that is the type of thinking outside of the system that Argentina needs. But Milei is taking it right into the system. I mean, is he really that different than the previous government? I mean, I don't know. Is he really going to do that many different things than the previous government? I mean, or the previous 5 governments?
I don't know if you remember, but when it was the Ottoman Empire over the Balkans and they were pushing west and all that, the Romanian principles, the Moldova and the old kingdom, when someone was appointed a king or whatever they would call over there, and in those Moldova, they would go, the boyars, the noblesmen, they would go to Istanbul, to Constantinople. I know the Greeks don't like that. I have some Greek friends, never mention Constantinople. I'm sorry, Istanbul, Constantinople. Okay, sir, that's what it is going to be. So, and I think it's the right term. So They used to go over there in front of the Sultan and buy their, throne in those in that area. So I think the same thing happened with Milei. He went to the United States of America. He was elected. First trip before he was, I think, inaugurated. He went to New York and Washington D.C. and met some military. I think he met Lloyd Austin. He met. I don't know if he met Yellen, but I don't think so. But some businesses and so on. It was like going to the source. For me, it was like, what's going on here? And that was one of the cherry on the cake for me. It was not like that was, oh, let me see. What do you think about that? I think it's this guy's is the United States' boy.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Which and once again, that's fine. I don't have an issue with Argentina being aligned with the U.S. Being aligned with the U.S.
Yeah.
If that's their history, that's the tradition of politics, that's fine. But you do have to keep a 10 or 20% open to other ideas to float in and to try those out. And I think BRICS is interesting because it is a loose structure that is more economic than anything else, and it doesn't lecture countries. It doesn't impose anything on countries. It doesn't say
for now.
For now.
We don't know how it's going to evolve because power
could change.
Corrupts.
Oh, absolutely. Power, yeah, absolutely. So, well, if you can get in early, if you're Argentina, you got in early.
Yeah.
Before it gets corrupted in 10 or 20 years. Yeah. So I mean, you had and from what I understand, Brazil lobbied hard to get Argentina. And from what I've gathered, there were other countries in BRICS that didn't feel very confident with Argentina getting into BRICS, at least in this early stage, because they felt that it was a little shaky to join BRICS, and they were proven right.
Well, Alex, great talk. Now, a topic that you might want to bring up here, piece of information, news, anything that you want to discuss at the end of this video. Fantastic video, I would say.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me. And just a lot of news going on. We haven't touched on Gaza and everything that's happening in Israel and the way the Biden White House the foreign policy team of the Biden White House just beyond bad.
Bad for some, good for others.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's good for the military-industrial complex. If you're the CEO of Boeing, you're Raytheon, you're probably like, this is great, but this short-term. Everything is short-term because, as we said in this program, the medium to long-term is that you're destroying your own foundations for these short-term gains, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, Gaza, I just read an article earlier today that Biden, this guy is staged. Biden, when he said he's not going to send some military aid, he just approved $1 billion. It was clear to me, at least, that's going to happen.
That whole thing was theater. We're not going to send these artillery shells if they go into. Come on. It's just nonsense. They're going to, as long as they want the weapons, the U.S. is going to send the weapons, and whatever weapons. I personally, my opinion on the artillery shells is that they didn't have the artillery shells, or they were running low. That's my thinking on it. Or they wanted to give the artillery shells that they did have. They wanted to give them to Ukraine because they saw that Ukraine was crumbling. And so they concocted this whole, don't go into Rafah. If you go into Rafah, we won't give you this specific artillery. That's what I think was going on there. But who knows? At the end of the day, it's
whatever. It's not going to listen to these guys here.
He doesn't take Biden seriously at all.
Yeah. Well, it's too bad for the ones who take him seriously. Those are the guys. But well, Alex, thank you very much for accepting my invitation, and I hope in the future you're gonna join us again here.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys, this was it with Alex Christoforou. Thank you very much for being with us today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. See you later, guys.